Message from the American Cancer Society, American Diabetes Association, American Heart Association, and the Ad Council.
On the way, family therapist Dr. Eli Karam. He's back in the studio. And the famous Sklar brothers are here. And Eli is a twin. So we got a lot of twin talk and bracketology talk on the way here with the Sklar boys next on 84 WHAS. Eli's back in the studio, as are the Sklar brothers. First time ever. Good to see you, Eli.
Hey, good to be back, Terry.
Life's good for you?
It's going well.
Now, you're a twin?
I am a twin, and I married a twin, Terry.
That's crazy. That's a little freaky, Terry. That's nuts. I'll admit it. It's amazing, really.
Randy and Jason are in. You've seen them on the sketches on various TV shows, Sports Center, but I saw you on Law and Order, didn't I?
Law and Order, Grey's Anatomy, Entourage, the whole deal. The whole deal. And now you can see us at the Improv this weekend.
They're at the Improv at 4th Street Live. The phone number there is 581-1332, improvlouisville.com. Well, it's good to see you guys. Glad to have you here.
Happy to be here.
And I heard you like a month or so ago, you're filling in for Jim Rome.
Yeah, we do that from time to time, too.
That's on our other station across the hall. Right?
Oh, nice.
Everybody's in the family around here.
I love it.
You guys, that's all you do is work, isn't it?
It is all we do. It is all we do is work. What we do is we work, and then we mentor parents and teach them how to go onto school buses and pull off the drivers and beat the heck out of them. Beat them senseless. It's a kind of a weird mentoring program, but it's shot up recently.
Eli, we're going to jump over to you now, Mr. Marriage, family therapist, counselor guy. What kind of a mother, 30-year-old mother, and her 12-year-old daughter are yanking a bus driver, pulling her in the streets? We have a little problem here modeling for the child, don't we?
Yeah, it's really... Where did that happen at? Did that happen
here,
in our...
That happened in our fine city.
Yeah, it's hard to explain that. And, we often, marriage and family therapists, deal with parents on... when they're how to advocate for your child at school or with the teacher. That is obviously not a good way to do that. But you can't take action into your own hands like that, can you guys?
You can't. You just cannot do
it.
Now, you're a twin.
Yep.
So you're married to a twin. Is there a twin language? Is there a secret twin language? Or
I was talking to the brothers here. My twin and myself, and all the research will say this too, the difference between sibling rivalry and really this closeness. So my brother and I were always really competitive. We were fraternal. My wife and her twin were identical, like you guys, right?
I love that you say that they were.
Yeah, they still are.
They're with us.
They were here.
They were in a tragic bus accident. Bus meeting.
But my brother and I, even though we're close, we're in one of these close but conflictual relationships, and we're, even though we do different things, we're fairly competitive. My wife, though, her sister is truly her best friend, and they are very close, and even though we live in Louisville, her sister lives in Chicago, we commute up there once a month, and they come here on the off month.
You're very long-winded.
Yeah.
That was the point I was trying to get to, is whether or not you were in sync, the way these two clearly finish each other.
I would describe our relationship as like a combination of that. Like, we get conflictual, but we're also... I think it's more... We're like an old married couple. We don't touch each other anymore either, folks. I would say this, that we... together, because we were raised at the same time, I think it has to do with being raised... I've always felt this way about twins. It's being raised at the same time and your frame of reference being similar as you go up. Because the world changes. I mean, for what it is to be a teenager today versus 5 years ago versus 10 years ago is a very different things. But if you're going through it at the same time, I feel like you have this sort of, reference of shared experiences and allows you to be closer. Agreed? No. I disagree with that completely.
How this impacts, too, is when you get married. When you guys got married, obviously your spouse has to be supportive of that relationship.
They do. It's like another marriage.
It really is.
Well, it's like having your first marriage, but the ex-wife's still very much in your life. Exactly. So that's the way it kind of feels sometimes.
Do you guys live on, the same street?
No.
Or the same... No. You have a little geographic distance.
We do have some distance, which is good. And we have kids. And we have kids, and that actually makes it so that, my kids know me as dad, not as part of the Sklar brothers. Although I'll change that. We'll change that in a second.
When you guys get on stage now, do you go back to the days when you were wild single men in New York City, or is it all about being dads now?
It's all about. It's a lot about being dads, because that's what we're living in right now. I mean, I was telling this story on stage, and we tell a little bit about it on stage, that my daughter now, kind of the 5.5, 6-year-old, understands that we're comedians, and they understand that we do comedy, and this is what we do, and so she knows, and she actually asked me to, in order to get her to go to sleep sometimes, is to write jokes with her, which If you've ever written a joke for a 6-year-old, it can't be funny, can't be smart, can't be edgy. It's basically like writing for Jay Leno. Kind of, basically. And she's a lot like Leno. She is a lot like Leno in that she craves attention. She won't look you directly in the eye. She likes cars, weird cars, sometimes wears denim shirts. And she, like Jay Leno, has no business hosting The Tonight Show. We're on Team Coco. That's who we are. But I'll just say this, like, but the problem is, here's the problem, okay? So Randy's taking time to write these jokes with his daughter, and for me, I know as comedians we only have a limited amount of creative juice in the tank each day. So when it comes time to create, if I see that he's creating material with his daughter that we can never use on stage, I get upset. So I'm like, you're wasting our collective creative juices here. So we had to figure out a way to take what I was doing with my daughter, and then use it on stage. And so I would tell the joke that, and we do this. Do the second joke. I'll do the second joke. I'll tell the joke that my daughter and I created, and then Jason has to figure out a way to make it. I am now trying to bump it up and make it nightclub worthy. Right. So the joke that I wrote with my daughter, one of them was, what do you call a quilt that no one will sleep on? What do you call a quilt that no one will sleep on? Right. A quont. Okay.
I like it.
Good for Leno, right? Good for Leno.
He would lead with that.
He would lead with that. All right, so all right, here's how I would bump it up. Jay's got to bump it up into our act. Okay, I'm going to change it a little bit. Change it. What do you call a quilt that's been slept on 20,000 times?
What do you call a quilt that's been slept on 20,000 times?
Quilt Chamberlain. I love it.
Hey, whoa!
Come on now. That's it. It's just silly.
Is your parenting style similar?
No, I think it's different. It's different. I think I have a shorter fuse, my poor kids, and I get frustrated more quickly than he does. And my wife is a psychologist, and she's super cognizant, I think, at times of, like, which for good and for bad. I mean, who knows what's good or bad? It's like the one thing, sometimes I get frustrated with my kid. I have 2 kids, and the craziness of 2 kids is always, I only have 1 kid. It's almost like... But you teach them as well that you can't push people's buttons. If you do, things are gonna, you're gonna receive,
Have your kids? You remember how old you were, or how old your kids were when they first figured out that you guys were twins? I always look at my 2.5-year-old when he looks at my wife and her identical twin sister, his aunt, and he gets this confused look at his face. He knows, but he gets confused.
I think our kids know right away. Our kids know, but sometimes in old pictures, like in a wedding photo, I wasn't wearing my glasses, and my son was like, is that Uncle Randy with Mommy? And I was like, is that Uncle Randy? No, it's not. I was pretty drunk at my wedding. What's going on? No,
I saw that movie, too.
Thank you.
Kevin Kline.
Oh, boy.
I wound up dead over that one.
That's right. Exactly.
The Sklar brothers, Dr. Eli, we're coming right back. Dude, the Sklar brothers are in the studio. Dr. Eli's with us, too. He is a marriage family therapist. Normally, we get into some issues here, but since the Sklars showed up today, we had a...
Oh, we're talking about twins.
We threw a monkey wrench. Treat us like a married
we also
couple.
Found out over the break, I was in a twin study, University of Louisville, so I got into psychology from age 6 months to 18 years, and you guys did that,
We did one that was run by Washington University in St. Louis, where we grew up, and we did just once. It was to determine whether or not we could send messages to each other telepathically.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I guess we were like the go-to twins. It was like it was all hinging on whether we could send messages. I guess everybody had failed up until that point. So I sat in a room and I held these
I think we were like 13.
Cards with photos on them. And Randy sat in another room where a little light would indicate when I was looking at a card, and he would have to sit down and draw what he thought. I would try and send him the message in my brain, which I didn't know how to do.
I heard nothing. I saw nothing.
I heard nothing. What I drew was so far away from what he was looking at that they not only were we not the right twins. They didn't ask us back. They shut down the experiment. They did. So, like, we were the twins that got them to lose their funding, right? Which is just awful.
Felt good.
I'd keep that on the resume anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me tell you some interesting research. Whether you're in an overly close twin relationship or a conflictual one, in any pair of twins, all the research says there's a dominant twin. So I'm wondering, because I'm a pretty assertive guy, but you put me at home with my twin, I kind of take a back seat sometimes. So I'm curious, in the creative process and you guys working together, who's dominant, Randy or Jason?
That's an interesting point, because I don't think there is a dominance. I think it's actually been the key to our success and ability to stay together and work together. Is that we, sometimes it shifts. Sometimes I'm more dominant. I'll take the lead on things, and then sometimes he will.
Which one of you cries first at a movie?
I cried today at the Muhammad Ali Center. I'm going to tell you, to be honest, I saw the opening movie of that thing, and that place is unbelievable. I love those people. We got a chance to meet Lonnie Ali today. I almost cried when I met her, and it was It was just an incredible experience. I was like, for everybody in Louisville should go, if you haven't already been. You should go again. And to support it, and I believe, and we'll say this to all of our followers everywhere, it's a reason to come to Louisville. It's a reason to come here. I've never seen a museum-like experience like that. I haven't cried in a museum in a long time. Yeah, since some kid punched me at the MoMA in New York. Yeah, that's right. You know what?
You know what's so great about Lonnie? She grew up here. She's much younger than Muhammad Ali, but she saw him his whole life.
That's right.
Saw him and all the meteoric stardom and all that stuff. And people sort of came and went in his life. And she stuck with him. Well, all this, you know, obviously it's more challenging.
I met her, and in 1 minute, I was like, this is a very powerful woman who also is down to earth. Like, she was able to, you know, totally interact with us like we'd known her for a long period of time. I was really impressed, and I just had to shout out how much I love that place. So then we both cried. We both cried at the movie in there.
Oh, man. All right, you guys do how many shows this weekend? You got 2 tonight?
2 tonight, 2 tomorrow night, 8 and 10:30 tonight, and 7 and 9:30 tomorrow night. And they're filling up. And they're really fun shows, and it is a beautiful club. I mean, we didn't know what to expect. We'd never been to Louisville, never been to this improv, Louisville.
It's a terrific.
Are we pronouncing it right? Louisville.
Yeah, that's the hillbilly.
Louisville.
That's when we put our redneck on for that.
Did you? I mean, the other thing that we found out is we're staying over at the Seelbach, which is amazing, an incredible, beautiful
hotel. There's a great history in that. I think it was even as late as the 1980s. That place was decrepit. They just let it go for a long time.
Right.
And then an actor, Roger Davis, I want to say, put together some other people. So let's clean up this mess. And then they did. They found all kinds of treasures in there. It was
the same thing's going to happen with Charlie Sheen. There's an actor going to let him get super decrepit, and then they're just going to have to renovate. Macaulay Culkin will come in and be like, we got to renovate this old dinosaur.
Are we putting a game clock on Charlie Sheen to go to rehab?
He is never going to go to rehab.
He's never going to go. He's the poster boy for the whole
thing. He won't. Right now he's flying without anyone in his entourage telling him no. Yeah. Honestly, he's flying without a net, and it's pretty exciting for all of us to see.
We're talking about brothers, though. What about poor Emilio? He's gotten lost in all of this.
He's like, if I want to be crazy, I'm going to have to go dangle a baby or something, because right now, at this point, I got to bump this up a notch. I got to bump my game up a notch. People thought I just had a drinking problem, but, you know, I got to do something crazy. I can't just be like a thin mustache. I need to really work this thing.
Exactly.
Leave Brittany alone. That's what we've come to.
Is that really?
All right, more with the Sklars. We haven't even gotten to cheap seats or any of the other things to talk about.
We're around, man.
Can you hang in here?
Yes, of course.
All right, more with the Sklar brothers in a few. And sports coming up here. And then Kevin Harnon's going to try to tell you that we're getting 2 inches of rain, which we're not. There's a misting. It looks like somebody spit on the street. That's about it. There's no 2 inches of rain. So Harnon's here to defend himself next.
This total